Okay, I just realized I was muted the whole time. Let's try this again. Hello and welcome to More Math. I'm Miss Moore, and today I am here to help you with your math homework. So if you are struggling with your math homework, stop right now. I am here to help you. So if at any point in this live stream you have a math question, you can put it in the chat, or you can complete the form in the description of this video. You can opt to come on live with me so I can help you out. You being live really helps me to hear whether you're getting it or not. You can have your camera off and all we hear is your voice, but it really helps me to hear that whether or not you are getting it. So I see my first guest is in the house, so I'm so excited about that. And so we had a homework question today. Again, if you are watching this and this is your first time watching, welcome. This is our 4th week doing this, so we are on episode 4, and I absolutely love being able to help you guys with your math homework and bring more math to YouTube. All right, so we're gonna get started. So we had a geometry question today. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so we had a geometry question. I'll zoom in just a little bit. There we go. So it says, here is a square and some regular octagons. In this pattern, all of the angles inside the octagon have the same measure. The shape in the center is a square. Find the measure of one of the angles inside one of the octagons. All right, so let's do it. So I'm going to bring on my first guest. All right. Hello. Can you hear me? It looks like you're muted. Let me see if I can. I can't unmute your mic. You're going to have to unmute it.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Great. Okay, so let me make sure I have it right. You're a 7th grader, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So tell me, do you know what a regular octagon is? Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay, that's fine. So a regular octagon, it just means that all the sides are equal. So all of these sides, this is equal to this, that side is equal to that side, this side is equal to that side, and so on. So all of the sides, 8 sides of the octagon are equal. Also, all of the angles are equal. So this angle, I'm going to use a different color for the angles. This angle is equal to this angle. They're just all equal. Okay?
Okay.
Right. And they're telling us that all of the angles inside the octagons have the same exact measure. So this octagon is the same as this octagon. So all 4 are the same. Okay?
All right.
All right. So that's going to be important here. Okay. What do you know about a square?
It has 4 equal sides and 4 right angles.
Awesome. So we know that a square has 4 equal sides. That was great. And 4 right angles. Okay. Now, we don't know anything about the angles, the angle measure inside the octagon yet. But do you know how many degrees are in a circle? How many degrees are in a circle? Let me use a different color.
360.
Good. Okay. So if I make a full circle, I am 360 degrees. Okay. So watch this. Look at these angles right here. So I have this angle inside this first, I'll put a number 1 here. So here's the angle inside this first one, first octagon. Here's another angle, right? And we know that these two are equal because they told us. They told us that all of the angles inside the octagons have the same measure. So these two are equal. All right. And then we have this angle inside of the square. You told me that all of the angles in the square are what kind of angles?
Right angles.
Right angles. And right angles are how many degrees?
90.
Okay. So if this makes up a whole circle, right? And part of that circle is 90 degrees. So we already have 90 degrees. We have 3 angles and they all add up to what? They all form a circle, so they're all going to add up to what? What was our circle?
360.
Awesome. Okay. How would we find these two missing angles? What do we know again about these two angles?
They have to add into 90 to make 360.
Okay. What else? So this angle, in yellow, is one of the angles in the octagon, right? And this angle in blue is another angle in the octagon. All of the angles in the octagon. There you go. Awesome. So we know that these two angles are equal. Okay. If something's unknown, what do I put there if I don't know it?
A question mark?
You could put a question mark. Okay. Or have you guys done variables yet?
Yes.
So if something's unknown, we could put a X, right? So we can put a variable. So now watch this. So 90 plus these two angles equal 360 degrees. I'm going to move it down here so it's a little bit easier to see. All right. So I have two angles, 90 plus, we don't know what it is, so we're going to call it X, right? And the other angle is the same, right? You told me they were equal, so they're the same. And they add up to 360 degrees. Okay, what could I do to figure out what these two angles are? What would you do?
I can, or what I would do is I would divide by 90, and then what I have, I would divide it by 2.
Okay, so you're on the right track. Tell me why you would divide by 90.
Because 90, we already know that it's there, so we already know what it is.
So we do know that part of that circle, right? Part of that circle is 90 degrees, right? So part of this circle, that's our 90 degrees. But do we divide by 90 to figure out what these two are?
Oh, wait, do we subtract by 9? Do we subtract 90?
Good. Why would we subtract?
Because we already know what it is.
Good. Okay. So I know this piece already. Let me subtract it out. Okay. I'm going to take it out. And I just need to be left with this part. I need to know how much these are adding up to, right? So what's 360 minus 90?
It is.
So it's 0 minus 0.
270. It's 270.
Good. So it's 270 degrees. So these two angles, so we could put X or just two blanks, they add up to 270 degrees. How would we figure out what each of these are if they're both equal? How would you figure that out?
Divide by 2.
Awesome. All right, so let's take 270 and divide it by 2. Tell me what you get.
Sorry, I'm doing this on paper.
That's fine. You're doing great. Tell me what you have so far.
Oh, sorry, I'm writing down the answers.
Okay.
I got 35.
You got what?
135.
Excellent. Okay. So each angle is, so from here to here is 135 degrees. And from here to here is 135 degrees. Together they add up to 270. And then we have our 90 degrees. 270 plus 90 is 360. So the angle measure that you found right here, they just wanted you to find one angle inside the octagon, and you found it right here. What's an angle called when it's over 90 degrees? Do you know what that's called?
Obtuse.
Good. Okay. And if you kind of look at it, okay, if you looked at each of the angles, oops, you could see that it was pretty much an obtuse angle, right? If you were to look and follow, oh my gosh, I can't draw. If you were to follow along here, right, it actually looks like an obtuse angle. It's over 90 degrees. So 135 makes sense because it is an obtuse angle. Okay, did that help?
Yes.
Awesome. You just did more math. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, did you have any other questions for me?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that was helpful for you. You did an incredible job. All right. So if you ever have any more questions, let me know and I'm here to help. All right. Great job. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was awesome. I love doing this. So at any time, if you're just joining us, welcome. We just had our first guest, and that was incredible. She did an amazing job understanding what a regular octagon is. She knew exactly some of these math facts, like that a square has 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. She knew what an obtuse angle was. She knew that a circle had 360 degrees. So all of those skills combined, all of a sudden, all of those light bulbs turned on and she was able to figure it out. I'm so happy for her. All right, that was awesome. Great job. Okay, so if at any moment you have a question, you can post it in the chat or you can complete the form in the description of this video. Okay, also, if you have any topics that you just want me to teach or go over while I'm doing the live stream, let me know that as well. I can just start teaching. All right, so what we're gonna do now is let's review some two-step equations. So we've been doing two-step equations and multi-step equations over the last couple of weeks just to get you guys familiar, especially for those who are doing algebra. It just takes you back to those foundation lessons that are so important, just in case you forgot. And so we're going to take it up a notch. So just to remind you on some of the lessons we did in the previous weeks. So if I have something like x divided by 4 minus 5 equals -2. How do we solve it? Well, we split our equation in half, okay? Equation is like a scale. My left side has to equal my right side. It is super important. So we make our chart. We call it a do and undo chart. Okay, so what is the first thing that's happening to the x? So if x was at 8, what is the first thing we would do to it? Well, the first thing we would do is divide. Okay, we would divide it by 4. And the second thing we would do after we got that answer is we would subtract 5. Okay, well, that's great, but I don't know what x equals. So I need to get rid of this minus 5, and I need to get rid of this division, this divided by 4, so that x can be by itself. I need to figure out what x equals. So let's get rid of it. So you're gonna work backwards, right? So the last thing you did is the first thing you're gonna start with, okay? So instead of subtracting 5, I'm going to add 5. And instead of dividing by 4, I'm going to multiply by 4. And these are our 2 steps to solve the equation. And this is why they call it a 2-step equation. All right, step 1 says, add 5 to both sides. All right, bring it on down. Minus 5 and plus 5 cancel each other out. It's 0. Negative 2 plus 5. If they're the same sign, we add and we keep the sign the same. But if they're different signs, we subtract. So 5 minus 2 is 3. And 5 is going to be positive. All right. So we have x divided by 4 is 3. We're not done. All we've done is add 5. Okay, so my students at times, they're like, x equals 3, because we do all this work and you feel like you're done, but you only did 1 step so far. So you got to make sure, check in with your chart. Did you do both steps? So far, we just added 5. Okay, so now we have to multiply both sides by 4. Whatever I do on the left, I have to do on the right to keep this equation balanced or equal. All right, so now my 4's cancel out and I am left with x. Okay, 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times x is x. Okay, 3 times 4 is 12, and x equals 12. So that's what we did the last couple of weeks, right? We always check our work just to make sure it's right. So in place of x divided by 4, we're going to put 12 divided by 4 just to make sure we are correct. All right. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. Is 3 minus 5 negative 2? When I subtract a number, I'm really adding the opposite. So subtracting by 5 or adding negative 5 is actually the same exact thing. So 3 plus negative 5, 5 minus 3 is 2. And negative 5 has the greatest absolute value. It's the further from 0, so it's going to pull it in the negative direction. It is negative 2, which we wanted. So our answer is correct. Okay, so now we're going to take it up a notch. What about if it looked like this? Okay, what is this called? So my students, a lot of times students know how to do this, right? But then when they see something like this, it's a little bit scary. But I'm going to show you how it's pretty much the same thing, okay? So What is this? In the past, we've talked about multiplication. Side by side, we multiply. So multiplication can look like this. 2 times 5, 2 parentheses 5. Both are in parentheses, right? All of these represent multiplication. Okay? If it was an x, it would be 2x. Side by side, we multiply. Okay? So this right here is multiplication. This says 2 times everything in the parentheses. Side by side, we multiply. This is 2 times everything in the parentheses, just like it was 2 times 5. Okay? So let's do it. 2 times everything in the parentheses. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down that minus sign. And guess what? It looks just like this. It's a two-step equation. Okay, so just because we changed it a little bit, you had to multiply first, it's still the same thing. Okay, you also, I'm going to show you another way to solve this by using our do and undo chart. Okay, oops. So if we didn't make it look like a two-step equation and we left it just like this, let me show you how you could solve it. So we know that this is multiplication and this is subtraction. When we make our do and undo chart, we always go in order of operation. PEMDAS. Okay? Let's say x was 10. What will we do to the 10 first? Are we multiplying it by 2 or are we subtracting first? Well, it's in parentheses. So we would end up subtracting 5 and then multiplying, okay? Because parentheses first. So if we didn't want to multiply it first, we could do it this way, okay? So watch this. Well, I need to get rid of that times 2. I need x by itself, and all this other stuff is getting in my way. So first things first, I'm going to work backwards to get rid of all of this stuff. So what is the opposite of times 2? Divided by 2. And what is the opposite of minus 5? Plus 5. Okay? And these are your 2 steps to solving this two-step equation. So we're going to split our equation in half so we can see the left side and the right side. We want to make sure they are equal and balanced. All right. Step 1, divide both sides by 2. Ooh, this looks ugly. Watch this. So it was 2 times x minus 5, right? Okay, so it says divide both sides by 2. I'm going to divide the left by 2 and the right by 2. When I divide by 2, watch this. What is 2 divided by 2? 1. I get rid of that 2. So I'm left with x minus 5 on the left. And on the right, I have 17 divided by 2. Now, you could leave that as is, or you can make it into a mixed number if you want. That's up to you. So let's make it into a mixed number. You know, it's not going to be pretty, but it's pretty enough. Okay, so we get 8.5. Okay, if you wanted to make it into a decimal, you could absolutely turn it into a decimal. Are we done? No, all we've done is the first step. I still have to add 5 to both sides. I'm not done until I know what x equals. Okay. So I didn't do anything to this x yet. So I'm going to bring it down. And 8.5 plus 5 is 13.5. Okay, let's see if this works. So instead of x, I'm going to plug in my 13.5. Let's see. 13.5, let's go back to the original equation. 2x minus 5 equals 17. So plug in 13.5 minus 5. What is 13.5 minus 5? 8.5. And 2 times 8.5 is 17. Okay. And if you want to see that, either you can do 8.5 times 2, or we can turn this back into an improper fraction. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. Keep your denominator the same. And we get 34 over 2. And 34 divided by 2 is 17, which we wanted. Okay, so this was a longer problem because we had fractions. Yes, it's 2 steps, but look at all of this. It looks very, very ugly. I know. So it's going to be super important that you keep your work very neat, very organized. I didn't give myself much room, but make sure you give yourself much room. So on one side of your sheet, put your do and undo chart. You might want to separate it by boxes, right? So separate your do and undo chart from the rest. Separate your check, just so that it doesn't get too overwhelming for your eyes and you don't know what you're doing, okay? Because sometimes that happens. It's so much work that sometimes I have students that put their check as the answer. Instead of, they have the answer on their paper, but they put their check as the answer because they've lost track of their work. Okay, so just make sure as you're doing it, you're being as neat and careful as possible. So I'm going to ask one of my producers to put up the banner. And so what I want you to do, if you are watching, first things first, I want you to submit any homework questions or math questions you have either in the comments, or you can complete the form in the description of this video. And also I pose the question to you in the chat. If you had to choose one, which would you prefer, cake or ice cream? So if you had to choose one, which would you prefer, cake or ice cream? Later in the live stream, I'm going to take a look to see which one you chose. So go ahead and comment. You can only choose one, and don't cheat. You can't say ice cream cake, especially since it's mostly ice cream. Okay. So if you could only choose one, tell me, which would you prefer, cake or ice cream? Tell me in the chat. And also submit your homework questions in the comments, or complete the form in the video description if you're watching and you have a math homework question. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't be struggling. I'm here to help you out. So we're going to take a quick break. And as we take a break, I want you to solve this brain teaser. Okay. My producers, can one of you guys, there we go. Thank you. I'm going to have to remember to unmute myself. Okay, let's try this again. All right, welcome back, guys. I hope you guys were able to solve that little brain teaser. If you are watching the replay and you know the answer to the brain teaser, go ahead and put it in the chat. I can't wait to see your answers. Also, continue to answer whether or not you like cake or ice cream. You can put it in the comments, especially if you're part of the rewatch gang. All right, so here we go. We are going to do the area of trapezoids, and also we're going to do some volumes of shapes. Now, here's a quick warning. I'm not the best at drawing shapes. I'm going to try. Okay, I'm going to try my best, but I'm not the best. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there. Okay. So let's do a trapezoid first. I mean, it's easy enough. Trapezoid. Okay, so, oh, see, they help me out because they know I can't draw. All right, so the formula for the area of a trapezoid. First of all, let me show you where they got it from. Okay, if you look at a trapezoid and you split it in half, it makes two triangles, okay? And if you know anything about an area of a triangle, okay, the area of a triangle is base times height. Here's your base, here's your height. Base times height divided by 2, okay? So here's the base of this triangle, and we have to draw in the height. The height always makes a right angle with the base, right? How tall is this triangle, right? This purple line is not the height. It's just a slant, right? The yellow line is not the height. The height has to be drawn in. So here's the height. Okay, so for this triangle, we have the area base times height divided by 2. Okay, now for this triangle right here, again, we have to draw in our height. So let's say this, so here's our base right here, where the arrow's pointing. That is the base. Now that base, if you're looking at it, you can tell that that base is different from this other base. Okay, they are not the same length. So we're just going to call that base 2. Okay, so this is base 1, and that's base 2. Okay, again, draw in your height. Make sure it is perpendicular to your base. So if this was like flipped upside down, the height would, it's hard to draw from this angle, but there is a height that's perpendicular. Let's say it's right here. I'm just not drawing this the best, but okay. But you know, a triangle is going to be base times height divided by 2, right? It's just at the base, it's just a different base. So it's base 2 times height divided by 2. So I have triangle 1 plus triangle 2, and that gives me my trapezoid. So to find the area of the triangle, of the trapezoid, I'm going to find the area of triangle 1 and add it to the area of triangle 2, and that would give me the area of the trapezoid. And that's how they got the formula. Okay, so I did all that just to show you how they got the formula. Okay, so it was base 1 times height divided by 2, so the first triangle, plus the area of the second triangle. Then they said, well, they have the same denominator, right? So I can combine them. They have the same denominator. So I can have it as base 1 times height plus base 2 times height divided by 2. And then they said, well, I want to take out these h's because they're just, it's a lot. Okay, so they factored out, or they took out an h and said, well, I'm going to put this h on the outside since they both have an h. And that left us with b1 plus b2. Because, watch this, if I use the distributive property, b1 times h, I get right back here. b2 times h, I get right back here. So that's how they came up with this formula. Okay, that's just a, a fact. Just in case you didn't know before, that's how they came up with it. They saw that a trapezoid was two triangles, and then they said, oh, well, I know the formula for area of a triangle, so I'm going to take this first triangle and add it to the area of this triangle, and that's how I get the area formula for a trapezoid. So it just really came from two areas of a triangle added together. Okay, so now, again, my drawing skills are great. Okay, I love that they do this for me. Let me just tell you. So let's say the base was 4. At the top, base 1 is 4. And base 2 is 8. Okay. And our height, I'm going to start with the easier one. Okay. And our height is 3. Okay. So the formula is base 1 plus base 2 times the height, or you can put the height first, divided by 2. So base times height divided by 2. Okay, so what is base 1? Here's our first base. So you always want to just write down each thing that you know. Base 2 and our height. Our height is 3. Okay, and then we're just going to plug it in. Okay, so we have our formula. So let's plug it in. We have 4 for base 1 plus, in place of base 2, I'm going to put 8. All right. H is our height, and it says our height is 3. Again, side by side, we multiply. This is multiplication. And all of that is divided by 2. Okay, what's 4 plus 8? 12. Okay, so now we have 12 times 3 divided by 2. We're going to multiply first. 12 times 3 is 36. And 36 divided by 2 is 18. Okay, now if they said like 18 centimeters, it would be 18 centimeters squared. Okay, so for area, it's squared. If we were talking about volume, which we're going to do next, it's going to be cubed. Okay, so let's do another one. So now let's take it up a notch. Okay, so let's say sometimes they like to trick us and they put in numbers that we don't even need, right? So they're like, okay, this is 6, this is 10, this is 4, here's 3, here's 5. They put in all these numbers to confuse us. But all we really need is base 1 plus base 2 and the height. That's it. That's all we need. Base 1, base 2, and the height divided by 2. Okay, so this doesn't matter, and this doesn't matter. Our height is what makes a right angle with the base. Our height is what makes a right angle with the base. All right, so now let's do it. So our height is 4. Plug it in right there. So in place of h, I'm going to put 4. Base 1 is 6, and base 2 is 10. All right, so now 6 plus 10 is 16. And then we have times 4. 16 times 4, you're going to get 64. And 64 divided by 2 is 32. If this was inches, you would say inches squared. Okay, why do we say inches squared? Because here you would do inches times inches, right? So 5 times 5 is 5 squared. X times X is X squared. Inches times inches equals inches squared. That's where they got that from. Okay, so it is 32 inches squared. Now, what if they gave us the area and they asked us to find the height? So they gave us, so a lot of times, especially in 7th grade and 6th grade, they'll give us the area and they say, what's the height? So they'll say, if the area of a trapezoid equals 36, and base 1 is 5, base 2 is 7, find the height. The best thing main thing, the most important thing you should do is write down everything they give you. We have the area, we have base 1, just like I labeled every single thing. That's what I want you to do. And then write down your formula. Area equals base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. Okay, plug it in. 36 equals 5 plus 7 times the height, which we don't know, divided by 2. Keep watching. 5 plus 7 is 12. So we have 12h divided by 2. If I cut 12h in half, right? So I have 12h means I have 12 of these h's, right? If I take away half, how many h's do I have left? If I cut it in half, I have 6, right? So we actually do 12 divided by 2, and we get 6h. Okay? And 6h, or 6 times what, equals 36. We can divide by 6 on both sides, and we get h equals 6. Another thing you can do if you got to this point, instead of dividing these two, you could multiply both sides by 2 first, okay? So you could get rid of this division by multiplying by 2, because that would cancel it out. Whatever we do to the left, we do to the right to keep it balanced. And then you can divide it by 12 on both sides. You still will get h equals 6. So whichever way you like to do it, both of them are going to work. Okay, but 12h cut in half is just 6h. And so that's how you would do a problem like that. A lot of times they will just give you the area and base 1 and base 2, and then you have to find the height. So that's how you would do it. Okay, last one like this. What if they gave you the height, base 1, and they wanted you to find base 2? Let's see. You have the area, you have the height. Okay. So our base is 7. We don't have base 2. And our height, I'm just making this up, is 4. And let's say our area is 42. Okay. So we have base 1, which is 7. We have the height, which is 4. And we need to find base 2. Well, let's go to my area formula. Base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Nothing changes. If you put that height first, nothing changes. I just like to write it this way because I know it helps me remember my triangle formula, base times height divided by 2. So it's just stuck in my head. So that's why I write it this way. But nothing changes if you write it differently. All right, my height is 4. So I'm plugging that in, divided by 2. Okay. So again, you could multiply. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do this. So you could multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that division. Okay, because there's a lot going on here. So you could say, you know what? I'm tired of this 2. I just need to get rid of it. Okay, so that gets rid of it. That gets rid of the division and it gets rid of the 2. So now I'm left with 7 plus b times 4 equals, what's 4 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 84. Now I have this multiplication here. I want to get rid of this multiplication. So I do the opposite. Instead of multiplying, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So we're slowly chipping away at this to get rid of each thing one at a time. So on the left, 84 divided by 4, you're going to get 21. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times all of this is just itself, 7 plus b. If you like to see it b plus 7, you know, that's the same thing. And then we subtract 7 on both sides. And we're going to get b equals 14. Okay, or b2, I should say. So your second base is 14. Now, if you did it this way, so look on the left, you could just do 4 divided by 2 here, okay, which is 2. So you would have 7 plus b times 2 equals 42. Again, you could get rid of this times 2 by dividing both sides by 2. You'll get 21 on this side. So it's very similar to here because you'll end up at the same point. We just divided first by 2 instead of multiplying both sides by 2. So it was just one less step, but you're still going to get b equals 14. So that's how you would do it. Make sure that whatever they give you, you put everything down that you're given and what you're trying to find. Then fill out everything in your formula and work at it one at a time, chipping away things until you get that b by itself, that base, or if you're trying to find the height, until you get the height by itself. Okay? Awesome. Hope that was helpful. Okay, so now let's do volume. Okay, this is the one I'm really, really bad at drawing. Okay, I'm gonna do my best. Okay, so let's say it's a pyramid. And a pyramid usually has, okay, a lot of times it will have a square base. So let me draw a square. And I'm going to try to draw this correctly. Okay, does that look like a pyramid? No, that looks like a that looks like a prism. Okay, let me try that again. Let me ask my producers. Did that look like a pyramid? I am the worst at drawing these. Okay. It looked like more like a prism to me. Let me see. I think I just need to make it meet at the center. I don't know. It's very hard for me to look at these. Okay, but pretend that is a pyramid, right? And the base is 10. So that square right there, oops, this square here, the sides are all 10, okay? Okay, so the square, the sides are all 10. And just like, exactly like the, what do you call that? Trapezoid. My height has to be perpendicular to the base. Okay, so my height has to be perpendicular to the base. All right. So the volume of a pyramid is length times width times height divided by 3, or 1/3 of the length times width times height. Okay, so that is the volume of a pyramid. What's the length and the width? Okay, so the length and the width are 10. Okay, and the because it's a square, so we do the area of the base. Okay, basically we're taking the area of the base. It's a square, so it's length times width, or side square. So it's just 10. All right, so my length is 10, my width is 10. I didn't give you a height. So let's say the height is 3. Okay, so my height equals 3. Well, let's plug it in. Okay, so we have 1/3 times, I'm going to make these different colors. So my length is going to be pink. That's going to be 10. My width is going to be green. And all of these are side by side. And side by side, we multiply. So my width is 10. And then we have our height. Let's do purple. Our height is 3. Okay, so we have our length times width times height. 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, 100 times 3, bring everything down. Okay, I have not used that 1/3 yet, so I'm going to keep going. 100 times 3 is 300. Okay. All right, and 1/3 of 300, or 300 divided by 3, is 100. Okay, so the volume of this pyramid is 100. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, and as you're watching, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, I'm going to attempt to draw this again. Not going to give up. Okay. I wonder if I do it toward the center. No, that's not going to work. Okay, nobody ever taught me to draw a pyramid, so that's why I'm so bad at it. I'll blame it on that. Okay, that's my attempt of a pyramid. Okay, so, and it's a pyramid because all of the sides, even though I drew this badly, all of the sides are triangles. Okay, so we call it a pyramid because all of the faces are triangles. Okay, with the prism, now that I can draw, all of the faces are rectangles. So with the prism, all of the faces are rectangles. The base might change. So the base might be a triangle. The base might be a square. So the base changes, but all of the faces are rectangle. Okay. So here we have a pyramid. All the faces are triangles. Let's start with that base. So since it's a square, it's going to be, let's say, 9. Okay, and if one side is 9, the other side is 9. So our length is 9, our width is 9, and our height is, or you know what, actually, our area is 243. Find the height. Find the height. What is the height? Okay, so we go back to our formula. So with geometry, the great thing about geometry is that there's a formula. There's always a formula, which is great. So just go back to that formula. So the biggest thing is to write down everything they gave you. Write down everything you know. Okay, I have length times width times height divided by 3. Okay, they gave me the area. They gave me the length. I have 9. They gave me the width, 9. And I just have no clue about that height. But that's okay. All right. Now, again, you can do this 2 ways. You can get rid of that 1/3 first. So it says 1/3 times everything else. Okay. So instead of multiplying by 1/3, to get rid of this 1/3 and to get rid of that multiplication, I can divide by 1/3. Now, if you remember back in 5th grade, I want to say, you learned that dividing by a fraction, I'm really multiplying by the reciprocal. Or you might have learned keep, change, flip, right? So when you go to divide by a fraction, you're really just multiplying by the reciprocal. You flip the numerator and denominator, and that's how you get rid of it. Okay, so let's try it. Multiply both sides by 3. On this side, it cancels out, right? You can join these together if you want. Okay, you get 9 times 9 is 81 times h, right? We canceled out our 3's, and let's do it. 243 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. And 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 729. Okay. Now 81 times what equals 729? We're going to have to divide to figure that out. All right. So we have 729 divided by 81. Put that numerator in the house. Okay. So now it's not so pretty. Let's see. Let's start with 81 times 9 because this is a big number. 1 times 9 is 9. 8 times 9 is, oh, look at that. We're right there. Nail on the head. Okay. So h equals 9. Oh, wow, look. It was a nice, pretty number. So they all were 9, right? So it was 9 times 9 times 9 divided by 3. Okay, that worked out perfectly. I just made that up on the top of my head. So that is a pyramid. Okay, so again, whether it's a trapezoid or I said area. I'm so sorry. I meant volume, guys. We were finding the volume. Hopefully y'all knew that. So whether you're finding the volume of a pyramid or you're finding the area of a trapezoid, you have your formula. Write down every part that they give you. Did they give you the volume, the length, the width, or the height? What are you finding? Okay. Plug in all of the numbers they gave you and work it one at a time. Let's say you didn't know that you can multiply both sides by 3. So let me just show you quickly the other way of doing it. If this one looks too complicated, let me just show you quickly. So when you got to this point, and it was 9 times 9 times h, you could have absolutely multiplied it together and kept that 1/3. Okay, 1/3 times anything, you're just dividing it by 3. Okay, so 81 divided by 3. So it was really like this, right? So 81 divided by 3 is 27. So you had 27h equals 243. So if you don't like this method of multiplying both sides by 3 to get rid of that 1/3, you can absolutely just keep that 1/3 and do 81 divided by 3. And now divide 27 on both sides so that you're left with h. And you're still going to get h equals 9. So however you do it, you're still going to get that the height was 9. Okay. So I wanted to show you both ways because you have to understand math is not one dimensional. Okay. There's not one way that you have to learn math. Okay. So if one way works for you, go with that way. But if it doesn't work for you, find a way that will work for you. So I love when my students share how they solved it because sometimes they have a different way of solving it than even I do. So it's great when we all can share the different ways that we solved it. So even if you're watching this later on the replay and you even solve it a completely different way, share that with us in the chat, in the comments, because that's going to help somebody else who may solve it even differently. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, guys. This was awesome. I hope you learned a lot. I'm so happy for our guest, our student guest that came on today. So this was pretty much a geometry night. This was great. So again, whether you're working with area or volume, get those formulas together, plug those numbers in, and you're good to go. This is More Math. I'll see you next time.